Hey guys, I'm back. Had to switch over to a different internet connection.
And ultimately death. What can you do? You can take a telomere activator, a pill that activates the enzyme in your body that repairs.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're new here, my name is Brian Craig. This is the most pro-Donald Trump radio show anywhere in the world, I promise you.
The body uses to accomplish this naturally, and it is called TA65. At the Boca Raton Center for Age Management, we offer the absolutely lowest price on TA65 available anywhere in the world, and I mean anywhere, folks. If you want to lengthen your telomeres, call the Boca Raton Center for Age Management at 561-953-5490. That's 561-953-5490, or visit our website, hormonetherapybocaraton.com.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for W.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. By the way, if you want to watch us on YouTube Live, you should. We live stream on YouTube. Just search Brian Craig on YouTube. We live stream there every day on the radio here, and there's a very active and interesting chat room there. If you miss a part of the show, you can always go back and catch it on YouTube. And I also upload my podcast to my YouTube channel as well. That's Brian Craig on YouTube. Subscribe, and I'm always doing random things all over YouTube all of the time. Brian Craig on YouTube. Subscribe, everyone, all right? If you don't mind, I'd appreciate that. And when you subscribe, click the notification bell so you get a notification every time I either go live or upload a new video. All right, so much happening, so much going on. You know, This is probably the worst year of my life for this country. I mean, 2020 is just a bad year, right? I mean, it started off with this phony impeachment and the Russia hoax. All that was exposed, and President Trump was cleared and acquitted. And even before the impeachment was over, the COVID crisis began, and we went through this pandemic, which was really scary. It was really scary. You know, when this first happened, how many of you were really worried? For the first time in my life, I was really concerned. And did any of you load up on supplies other than just toilet paper? You know, the toilet paper panic of 2020, a lot of people think that's a joke. I was watching a commercial last night on the ID channel for Simply Safe. And they showed the Simply Safe, a guy had a Simply Safe at home, and he opens up the safe, and it had toilet paper in it. It was filled with toilet paper, as opposed to, you know, gyms or things like that. And, you know, the toilet paper panic at the beginning of the COVID pandemic was not about running out of toilet paper. It was people that were scared. They didn't know what to do. And going out and overloading on toilet paper purchases made them feel safe. As crazy as that sounds, that's what that... So this has been a rough year. And then, of course, the financial problems and the unemployment that's been going on. This has been a rough year. And it's not over yet. We're just a little over halfway through it. And, you know, it was another dagger to the heart. Yesterday, Miami-Dade County closing down again. And and Broward County, bunch of wimps run Broward County. They usually follow whatever Dade does. Hopefully Broward won't shut down. You know, it's getting out of control. This is a rough year. It really is a rough year. And man, it really has been. And we were getting out of it. Things were getting better, and then boom, they brought us back into it. All right, let's take another call. Good morning, you're on the radio. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Brian. It's Al from Coral Springs, your favorite call.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, you're an all right caller, don't get me wrong, but my favorite caller? I don't know. You're my favorite caller that I'm talking to right now.
Okay. Try to keep my volume up, because I got a lot of important things to say, but I know I got a little bit of time. Your other caller, unfortunately, he like you said, he wasn't prepared to answer the question. Okay, you wanted to know what John Wayne said. He was referring to a 1971 interview with Playboy John Wayne said that he believes in white supremacy up until the point where the Negroes are educated enough
Yeah.
to say that after all the things that King went through, it's going to rub a lot.
Well, first off, I would have to hear John Wayne's own words and context for what you were saying. But I do know this, that John Wayne was a supporter of Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Act and the Civil Rights Movement, and he was also a supporter for the civil rights of people in South Vietnam. That's why he made the movie The Green Berets. So, here we are. I mean, think about this. Here we are in 2020, and you're pointing to an interview with John Wayne, which I need, and Playboy. So you're taking a smut magazine, that nobody, and an interview that no one read, because people that go to Playboy go to find the pictures of the naked girls, right? But there's an interview in a smut magazine from what year?
It was 1971.
1971. That's correct. That's what you said. That was 49 years ago. So let's call it 50. So you have something. Hold on a second. So you have a man. I want you to think about this for a second. John Wayne is an American icon who started in cinema in the days of silent movies and made his last film in 1979. So you're going through a man's entire life. You're taking one sentence out of a magazine article that no one read because they're in there looking for the pictures, and you're judging an entire man's life based on one sentence in a Playboy magazine interview from 50 years ago? Does that make sense?
I'm not going to get sidetracked from the main.
Well, I don't understand why all of a sudden John Wayne's a racist. All of a sudden, John Wayne died in 1979. Okay, so the man's been dead for 41 years, and now all of a sudden you've got one sentence from an article that no one read in 1979 that I'm not familiar with. I'm accepting what you said, and now all of a sudden he's a racist and he should be canceled from our culture, is what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is that, if anyone, and, I try to tell you certain things, Brian, to kind of help you deal with your callers, and it's up to you.
I don't need your help on how to deal with callers.
Kind of attitude where people don't, you're not interested in the truth. I thought you were interested in the truth.
Well, I love how liberals think they have a monopoly on the truth. Now, why do you think it is that all of these statues that are being removed are statues of Democrats?
Okay, I'm going to answer that question. I answered it last week for you, but you refused to go to the truth. Now, your argument about trying to compare Democrats from 300 years ago to Democrats of today is juvenile at best. Okay,
now I pulled up an article here about John Wayne, okay? And it's from the Florida Times-Union newspaper, which you can find at Jacksonville.com. And I just Googled, so people know, John Wayne racist comments, and this was the first thing that came up on Google search, okay? So can I read it to you? No, but I don't know about it. And excuse me, I don't know about it. And I think the tens of thousands of people in the listening audience here of the Steve Kane Show don't know about it. And I've not even read this article. Here's the headline. All I did, what were you afraid of people getting? I thought you wanted to learn. Don't you want to know? Now, again, this is you brought up, you said, you gave this racist comment of his. I Googled it. This is the first thing that came up on the Google search. I've not read the article. This may prove me right. It may prove you right. I may agree with you that we need to cancel John Wayne from our culture. Now, this was I just typed in John Wayne's racist comments on Google. This is the first thing that came up in Google search results. And the headline is, Fact Check, did John Wayne express racist views to blacks and American Indians? Okay, here's the article. It's from January 31st, 2017, written by someone named Carol Fader. A meme stating that actor John Wayne believed in white supremacy has circulated on the internet for several years, but has resurrected. The facts. But John Wayne's quote is real. It originally appeared in a May 1971 interview with Playboy magazine, in which Wayne was responding to a question about whether Angela Davis, do you know who Angela Davis was? Excuse me. Let me read this article. When John Wayne was, see, you just want to slander John Wayne. You don't want to know any truth. You just want to say he's a racist, and you don't want to move on beyond that. We're getting into the nitty gritty here. Let me read the article. John Wayne was responding to a question about whether Angela Davis, a counterculture activist, communist, and professor, was discriminated against by those who wanted to revoke her teaching credentials. John Wayne responded, with a lot of blacks, there's quite a bit of resentment along with their dissent. Well, I think you would agree with that, right? There's a lot of resentment towards American history and culture, and possibly rightfully so, Wayne said. But we can't all of a sudden get down on our knees and turn everything over to the leadership of the blacks. I believe in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility. I don't believe in giving authority and positions of leadership and judgment to irresponsible people. Wayne said that while he did not discriminate against black actors or crew members, he didn't seek them out either. I've directed 2 pictures, John Wayne says. I gave blacks their proper positions, right? In the Alamo, well, yeah, the Alamo, for example. What's so funny? What's so funny?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, let me finish. I'm just reading the article. I don't know what the article says. I'm reading it live with you on the air. Tell me when you're done laughing, because I want you to hear. Are you done? Okay. He says, John Wayne said, I gave blacks their proper position. I had a black slave in the Alamo. Okay, I had a black slave in the Alamo. That's the first one. What role in the Alamo would an African-American actor play other than a slave? It's a historical film, right? Should a black man have played Davy Crockett or something, or Colonel Travis, or should they? What would be the proper casting in the Alamo for an African-American actor?
What's going to help you, Brian, is when you watch When Heritage Equals Hate.
Oh, I'm asking. Okay, so you don't have any answer. Okay, he said I had the correct number of blacks in the Green Berets. If it's supposed to be a black character, naturally I use a black actor. But I don't go so far as hunting for positions. I think Hollywood studios are carrying their tokenism a little too far. The Playboy interview contained one other quote that is frequently shared in meme form. The quote was in response to Playboy's question of whether Wayne felt any empathy for Native Americans for subordinate roles in Westerns. John Wayne said this: I don't feel we did wrong in taking this great country away from them, if that's what you're asking. Our so-called stealing of this country from them was just a matter of survival. There were great numbers of people who needed new land, and the Indians were selfishly trying to keep it for themselves. These feelings and other publicized statements came back to prevent Wayne from being recognized by the state of California, who wanted to declare a John Wayne Day. This was back in 2017. Okay, so that was your interview. What are your thoughts now that we have context?
Am I still on the air?
You've been on the air nonstop.
Well, you like to play volume games sometimes.
No, I haven't done anything. I'm reading the article. So I got the information out about the John Wayne Playboy interview.
You left out a very important.
Which part? Which part?
The part where that whole interview was about his disdain for the porn industry.
Well, but that's getting sidetracked. We're talking. You mentioned what he said about. You talked about what he said about blacks and Native Americans. Now you're going to go on against pornography. So you really don't have an issue with what John Wayne said about Native Americans and black actors. So you want to move on to talk about pornography to distract, right? Is that what you're doing?
Oh,
You said that John Wayne gave an interview and Playboy in 1971, and he said things about blacks and Indians that were offensive. I just shared them with you, and now you want to talk about pornography. Hello?
Heritage equals hate is going to help you a lot. It's going to help America.
What does that mean?
You keep asking questions day to day about the American Confederacy and these statues. When you watch When Heritage Equals Hate, you will be educated to the level of where you...
All right, let me give you an example of something. If you go... I went here when my daughter was in kindergarten. She went on a field trip to Atlantic Avenue. They have the old original Delray Beach City Hall has been turned into a children's museum. And when my daughter was in kindergarten, her class and the other kindergartners from her school took a field trip there. And I was very surprised to see, this was the original Delray Beach City Courthouse from way back in the day, okay? I was very surprised over the men's room. There was a sign other than men's. What do you think the sign I saw was?
Tell me.
Colored. Colored. And it was also, and it was, that's from back in the days of segregation. Why do you think they've left the sign over the men's room that says colored men's room? Why do you think they left that sign up there? And should they remove it?
You said we shouldn't be erasing our...
No. Hold on a second here. I'm asking you, I'm not asking you what my opinion is. I'm asking your opinion. It says colored over the men's room at the old Delray Beach City Hall. Well, at least it did when my daughter was in kindergarten back in 04 or 05, whatever year it was. Why do you think they left the sign that said colored over the men's room? And should it be there or should it be removed?
Hello?
Don't pretend that you can't hear and you're not on the air and do all these games. Just answer the question I've asked you twice.
You gotta answer the question. You gotta let me answer the question.
Well, answer the question I asked you.
Answering the question, but you keep cutting me off.
I haven't cut you off. You're just buying time because you got no answers. Answer the question.
The answer. You ready? Okay, here's the answer. You ready? You said we shouldn't be erasing our history.
No. I'm asking very specifically. You're answering your own question. The old Delray Beach City Hall over the men's room has a sign that says colored over it, right? Why is that sign there that says colored over the men's room? And should they remove it? That's the question.
Because just like with all the Confederate statues, they should all be in the African American Museum of Slavery.
The bathroom, the men's room should be there. No, you know the answer. You just don't want to say it because it erases your narrative. The reason that it says colored over the men's room, okay, is because back in the day, this was the deep Democrat South, all right? And by the way, Delray and Palm Beach County still are Democrats. And it was a segregated place. That was the men's room for black people. And they keep the sign colored up there because it's a historical landmark, okay? And it should not be removed because it opens up a dialogue. People see that and say, "My goodness, look what used to be. Look what used to be here where I live, Delray Beach, Florida, Atlantic Avenue. And look at where we've come." So, if you take all of these things down and cancel them from our culture, people don't learn how things have progressed and where they were. Right?
Sylvia, Brian?
I've always been here. Stop pretending that you're not on and you can't hear and your volume's not on. You've been on the whole time. You're just in shell shock.
I really believe that you really care about your African American daughter and you do your best to educate her properly. One of the best things you can do as far as your education.
So you've got no answers for anything. I don't need parenting advice from you. Yeah, I have asked you several times about something very specific in our community. You've got no answers. You can't deal with it because it doesn't fit your narrative. See, these statues all over the place. Okay, you're in, where are you calling me from? You said Coral Springs?
Watch when heritage equals hate with your kids.
I know you've got that talking point. Have you ever been to Fort Lauderdale Beach?
Watch when heritage equals...
I heard that 4 times, okay? Fort Lauderdale Beach. You go to Fort Lauderdale Beach, and you enter the beach at US 1 and A1A across the street from the Elbow Room, and there is a plaque on the beach entrance talking about the Wade Inns, W-A-D-E-N's, Wade Inns. And it's a plaque that talks about how that beach was once segregated, that the colored beach was down there at that John Lloyd Dania Park, right? Out in the middle of nowhere, where they didn't, and how a group of civil rights activists in Broward County defied the Democrats and went on the whites-only beach, and it's marked there with a plaque. Should that plaque be removed because it's talking about what used to be, or should it be stay there so people know their history? What should it be?
Do you know what was in Martin Luther King's briefcase on the day of his assassination?
I don't care. That's not what we're talking about. I can't care about all... I gotta take a break. We'll be right back.
Dr. Matez, we talk about charisma. Hormone replacement pellet therapy brings back a lot of things in people, and one of the things I think it brings back is charisma, because I've met many listeners that are patients of Dr. Matez that I've met before they were patients of Dr. Matez, and I noticed a big difference. And one thing I noticed is a lot of confidence in guys after they start hormone replacement pellet therapy.
I agree with you 100%, Brad.
Yeah,
Get your mojo back. It's really what
It
it is.
changes your life. It changes the way you view the world. You know how I put it once? This was years and years ago. Looking at the world after having the hormone therapy, and you look at the world, and the world is like a technicolor, and when you give up the hormone therapy, it's like watching the world in black and white. It's just an amazing difference. Like
That's a fantastic analogy.
Isn't it?
It is.
It's true. That's a big difference.
It is. As we get older, we both physically and mentally break down. And
Oh, my
we
goodness.
tend to get into a very black and white type of existence, a lot of people. Everybody's different. But when you get your hormone levels back and you get that vigor back, you feel good. Suddenly things are very bright and colorful.
Man, I experience
What's
this
up?
myself, and I see it on listeners, is I'll see
Yeah,
a guy, and he's
that's how
like,
they all are.
And then I'll see him after he has become a patient of yours, and with hormone replacement pellet therapy, he seems like he's standing up strong, confident, 10 feet tall. What is it about hormone replacement pellet therapy that does that to guys?
I believe it's because you're putting God's nectar back into the body, basically.
It's not easy.
God gave us testosterone in particular to give us energy and strength and endurance and muscle mass. It's what makes not just men, it's what makes people. And a lack of it takes all of those things away from you.
So we'll meet with Steve Kane listeners at no charge.
Always.
What is the number they can call to make that appointment?
561-953-5490. 561-953-5490.
Listen to The Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for WWN.
Oh, man. Welcome back, everyone. Oh, boy. That was some call. Welcome back. My name's Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. Our number toll-free, 1-888-GO-KANE-1. So far as callers to this program, it's... A lot of times people complain about all of our callers. This has been, since I've been a part of the Steve Kane Show, people are always complaining about the callers, and some, they're too chronic, or, that one's got, you don't get enough liberal callers, and things like this. This is when you're talking to liberals, and I'll tell you what happened with that guy, okay, with his, when heritage equals hate, I don't know what his thing was, his one line, his talking point thing. See, a caller like that, liberal callers are not accustomed to having a logical discussion about their positions. And always playing the victim card. I can't hear, are you there? I'm muted, my volume is down. None of that happened. In fact, I'm standing so far away from the button for the phone right now that for me to touch the phone button, I'd have to take 2 steps forward and be off mic because I'm leaning up against the control board here. Didn't touch the phone or the mute button or the volume button with him one time. He just had nothing to say in response to what I was bringing up, so he played the victim card pretending that he wasn't on the air when he was on the air the entire time. Now here's the thing about all the history, okay? You know, all these things in history that they're trying to wipe out indeed are Democrat things. We talk about that a lot. There's a major revisionist history movement going on with the left. And here's the scary thing about it. You know, all the history books are written by liberal Ivy League college professors. The textbooks in the schools, the books that you've bought in the bookstores throughout your life, almost every one of them is written by liberals. Anytime a conservative writes a history book, it's never mainstream in libraries or in bookstores. You know, America's history has been written by Democrats. And now they're trying to rewrite their own history that they wrote in the first place. And they're trying to wipe out a history. You know, this thing about the segregated bathroom at Delray Beach City Hall, their old City Hall building. You know, that's the kind of thing they want to remove, because what happens? People see that and it starts a discussion. It starts a discussion. And eventually that discussion leads to some very uncomfortable things. Do I have this audio? Hold on a second. Let me see if I have this. This was a guy, okay. This is, I want to play this audio. I was going to play it later in the show, but I'm going to play it to you now. This is a Democrat state representative in Georgia. And he made this video. We posted it online. This is a Democrat. And also, by the way, he's African-American. He's an African-American Democrat elected state representative in Atlanta, or in Georgia, where there's all this craziness and sadness going on lately. Okay? He's talking about, I'm going to play this audio. He's talking about the renaming that's going on. And listen to what he says here. This is very interesting. This is a Democrat. He's African-American. And he's an elected, current, sitting state representative for Georgia.
America, this is State Representative Vernon Jones from Georgia. You know, the late Reverend Vernon John once said, if you see a good fight, go join in. Well, I'm all in. Because what I see happening between Democrats and
this is
banding together
St.
throughout
Ferris.
this country,
Ferris Bueller.
lawfully tearing down statues and removing monuments and changing the name of streets and buildings because they feel it's associated with racism and bigotry and Confederacy. As a matter of fact, Speaker Nancy Pelosi has recently removed portraits of several former speakers of the House from the U.S. Capitol because she feels as though that they were associated with bigotry and the Confederacy. But here's what they're not touching and not banning at all or changing the name. The Democratic Party. Wasn't it Democrats who opposed the freedom of slavery and wanted to keep slaves? Wasn't it the Democrats who started the Ku Klux Klan? And there was a Democrat by the name of Margaret Sanger who said that blacks and immigrants and the indigent, that they were all human weeds and that they were reckless, get this, reckless breeders. Wow. And wasn't it mostly Democrats that opposed the Voters' Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, including Senator Robert Byrd, a Democrat, who was a card-carrying KKK member, who was eulogized by another Democrat, U.S. Senator Joe Biden, which he doesn't remember right now. And then we had a presidential nominee Democrat who said that she admired the courage of Margaret Sanger when she received the Margaret Sanger Award. That's Hillary Clinton. Now, wait a minute. Finally, we had that same Joe Biden, a Democrat, who said that if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. Let me tell you something. Join me and others. Let's challenge the Democratic Party to have at their national convention the #1 platform issue that they will disband and change the Democratic Party. It would no longer be called the Democratic Party. Why? Because it's associated with racism, bigotry, and the Confederacy. I got a lot more. Stay tuned with me, America. We'll see you soon. Peace out.
Yeah. Should the Democrat Party change its name? Because of the racist history. They want to rename the John Wayne Airport because of a out of context quote from a Playboy magazine interview from 1971. Is there anyone that's read a Playboy magazine interview? Come on. Come on. So should the Democrat Party be? Of course they should, if they're by their own stand. See, this is a textbook example of what's going on here. Guy's an elected official. He's a Democrat. He's African American. And he knows the real story. It hasn't been very long since people knew the real story. I think it really, I mean, I've known it for a long time. I know a lot of you that are conservative have known it for a long time. The racist history of the Democrat Party. But this is something that is new to most people in the country, not just African Americans, but most people in the country. This is news to them over the last 5 to 8 years. And I think it really started with the Dinesh D'Souza movies. Hillary's America is a prime example of it, right? That's a great movie. Hillary's America is an incredible movie. I think it's still on Amazon Prime for free, so you should check it out. But, you know, and they put him in prison because of the, you know, he was a political prisoner, Dinesh D'Souza, for the things that he was doing. But they know that the country and African Americans are like the state representative in Georgia, waking up to what's going on. I mean, you look at these blackface incidents, for example. Blackface. Always Democrats, always liberals, always Hollywood. You look at the stat, all Democrats. There's a pattern here. And people have woken up to it. So they've got to rewrite things. They've got to cancel. That's the cancel culture. They've got to cancel it out. Wipe it out. Destroy it. They're burning books. You know, they've got right now one of the Thomas Jefferson descendants who's white. And he's been the most outspoken of the Thomas Jefferson descendants for the last 20 years. I've seen this guy on TV, on Oprah, and many places over the years. And now they've got a Thomas Jefferson descendant who is talking about taking down the memorial of Thomas Jefferson in Washington, D.C., which is an amazing. Have you guys been to the Jefferson Memorial? It is an amazing, amazing place and thing. And his own descendant wants to take it down. He wants to cancel out the Jefferson Memorial. It's insanity. There'd be no country as we know it without Thomas Jefferson. And this is one of the white descendants. This isn't one of the Jefferson Sally Hemings descendants that's doing this. You know, we're in a very dangerous time here. Very dangerous time. You know, and it's got to be stopped. You can't let them wipe out, because if they wipe out our history, you have no context, you don't know anything, which is what they want. People are too well-read. People are too educated. See, this is the dangers of the internet from their mind. See, in the old days, the liberals controlled the entire messaging, right? They had the universities, they had the public schools, they controlled all the newspapers and the 3 television networks. Now, since the birth of the internet, the American people are more informed and educated than ever before. And all of these things that they could suppress because they controlled every outlet, every educational resource, all the books. Now anyone can write a book and upload it to Amazon and start selling it on Kindle for nothing. Give it away for free and get it out there to millions of people. You couldn't do that before. And the Democrats are losing, not just because Trump is so great. The Democrats are losing because they can't control the messaging anymore. They can't control the narrative. And people are educated about them. And they're trying to put a stop to it. All right, let's take our break for the top of the hour, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. Don't go anywhere.
5.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
Does your life insurance policy only pay someone if you die? The new life insurance policies allow you to access your benefits even while you are still alive. Due to changes in the insurance industry, all life insurance carriers in 2020 have adjusted their premiums to your advantage. Life insurance rates have been lowered due to the updated mortality tables. People are living longer in America, and that means life insurance premiums are lower. Call Debbie and Dan at I Will Advisors, 954-753-8080 to learn more and for a free review of your existing life insurance policy. 954-753-8080. 954-753-8080.
Attention homeowners, this is Scott from Cut My Kilowatts. I'm here to cut your electric bill and save you a lot of money. Perhaps even eliminate your electric bill altogether. We do this by making your entire home energy efficient, by upgrading some or all of the following: roofs, doors, windows, insulating your attic, AC systems and ducts, hot water heaters, and even adding solar. Energy efficient improvements that actually pay for themselves over a short period of time. Our program is designed to make the savings on your electric bill pay for all or part of your low monthly payments. The PACE program is government sponsored and gives you up to 30 years to pay. Requires no credit check, no money down, no income verification, and no payments for up to 18 months. You only need to be current on your mortgage and taxes for the last 3 years to qualify. Energy savings and hurricane solutions made easy. Call 954-939-1500. 954-939-1500 to start saving money now.
Stop paying an outrageous fortune for your tires. Go easy on your budget and buy your tires at Friendly Tire in Margate, where they have all the major brands like Goodyear and Firestone at discount prices that absolutely can't be beaten. Steve Kane's tires for his Toyota van at the other shops, $175 a tire. At Friendly Tire, just $75 a tire. That's a $100 savings per tire. Tires for my daughter Emily's car, $135 at the shops around town. The price at Friendly Tire, only $65. That's a $70 savings per tire. These prices are out the door and on the road. Free mounting and balancing and no added charges. Friendly Tire have a great selection of good used tires too, starting at just $30 for most cars. Call my good buddy Friendly Mike at Friendly Tire. Tell him what you drive and he will give you a great low price right over the phone at 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by Attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. Avoid probate with a revocable living trust. $350 for single people, $450 for married couples. When you complete your trust with Attorney Barry Siegel, he will give you a $100 gift certificate to Tavolino Italian Restaurant in Coral Springs. The Siegel Law Group, with offices throughout Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade County. Call toll-free 1-855-FLA 3782.
You are listening to South Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. To call the show toll free, 888-GO-KANE-1. That's 1-888-GO-KANE.
That's right. All right, welcome back. Hour number 2 has begun. It's 3 minutes after 7 o'clock in the morning. I am Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show. And if you missed the first hour of the show, you've missed a lot. Oh my goodness, this is the best show in talk radio. There's no show like this in talk radio. You people that listen to this program are so spoiled beyond imagination. But if you missed the first hour, you missed a lot. It was pretty good first hour, I must say. If I say so myself. If you did miss it, though, you can get up at midnight. It'll run again at midnight and 3 o'clock in the morning on our radio stations and on iHeartRadio. Or you can go to my YouTube channel, Brian Craig on YouTube, and watch and listen to the hour that you missed right there. Let's go to the phones. Let's first go to Chris. Chris, you're on the radio. Good morning.
Good morning. You know, since you mentioned that, I have to say it. I mean, your show would be a great service if you were more national. I mean, Hannity and Rush, they do bring out some truth and they bring out some current news, but you break it down like everyone really needs to hear it. And you know, I was laughing at that conversation you had with one of the callers because whether it was him or Pelosi or Schumer or any other national, Democrat that just doesn't get it, they want to filibuster and talk, they have no answers for you either. The back and forth will be no different than your other call.
Yeah.
Avoid that truth. They don't have, even Hillary, what was it? I think she went over 200-something days without taking
Yeah.
They avoid the truth. And they would do better at the party if they did more of the truth. You know what I mean? Instead of just manipulating or hiding.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You know, that guy with his talking point, when heritage becomes hate, you've got what I couldn't make out the rest. I guess he didn't finish the song lyric yet.
You listen to some other stereotype, well, not stereotype, but a propaganda that some liberal created that brings their message or their narrative to the forefront again, instead of the truth to get you to whatever tradition.
Well, and I'll tell you, in the first hour, when liberal callers called in, I talked about what they brought up, not what I planned on talking about or my agenda. And he referenced something from, this is the great thing about I love it. He references this 1971 interview with John Wayne, and I look it up, I read it to him, he doesn't want to deal with it.
And you know the part that I love the best, you even told him before you looked up, he says, listen, I'm not going to go with what you said. I'll have to hear it in context. I'll just look at it myself and see the entire thing. And sure enough, as soon as you read the article, like, right on the nose, he took it out of context. He said what he wanted to say to make it.
That's right. That's right.
About the irresponsible Angela Davis and the other leadership that would have run amok with it.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne was right on the money.
That's correct.
To laugh about the proper roles. Of course, it's Alamo. What are we going to do? We going to have a black guy be...
I mean, look at what's going on now. I saw Hamilton on Disney Plus Friday, and I am a fan of Broadway. I'm a fan of musicals, you know. Hamilton, I must tell you, is one of the most overrated productions I have ever seen. Some of the acting was very... The lead actor who created it and wrote it, he's not leading man, at least not in Hamilton. He's a big problem. I mean, some of the actors were great. The guy that played Thomas Jefferson was out of this world. The guy that played George Washington, both of these actors are African American, are great. And they had a white guy playing the King of England because he's the villain, right? But it is the most overrated thing I've ever seen. And if I paid $500 a ticket or $1,300 a ticket back in the day on Broadway, I would have wanted my money back. I would have felt so... I'm getting it for like $8 a month on Disney Plus, and I feel like I've been ripped off. But with that being said, look at what the cancel culture is doing to Hamilton. They're talking about now. The left are talking about removing removing Hamilton from Disney Plus because it doesn't properly deal with the slavery issue in it, and there's so many slave owners that are shown in a positive light, Washington and others, Jefferson, and Hamilton. And this is a production that's a majority minority cast. The left, the cancel culture typically cancels out their own culture. It's the left that always get canceled out, not too many Republicans.
Yeah, and like you said, it's directed that way, it's purposed that way.
I mean, what Republican have you ever seen in blackface?
None that I know of. And again, they're even trying to twist that. I mean, I hear this business about even going after Lincoln for what?
Well, yeah. I mean, these idiots took down the Frederick Douglass statue. You know, they didn't know who he was. You know, with that hairdo, I would have thought he was Don King if I wasn't familiar with Frederick Douglass. He had the same haircut Don King used to have, right? You know, oh shoot, what's her name? The woman who was the one that tried to fix the debate for CNN and gave the questions to Hillary.
Brazil.
Yeah, Donna Brazil kind of has the Frederick Douglass Don King hairdo, but you know the cancel culture, this thing. I knew when I saw Hamilton on Friday, I was watching it with my wife. It was a chore. I couldn't get through it in one sitting. It took me 3 sittings, maybe 4, to get through Hamilton. The second half is much better than the first, but maybe it's because the second half is shorter. I don't know. But I told my wife when we were watching it, I said they're going to go after Hamilton, and sure enough, by Sunday, they're going after Hamilton, the cancel culture.
Oh boy. But you know, I guess in a sort of a different subject, I'm hearing more and more like Nancy Pelosi mentioning about not briefing President Trump because he would be somewhat treasonous or being. There's got to be something we can do about these reporters and political people that are that can just say anything they want and get away with it. I mean, it's a...
Well, you remember when he was president-elect, they were actually talking in the mainstream media that he should not be briefed on the national security. He should not be privy to the presidential daily briefing. They were openly talking about that.
I don't get that. I mean, it's one thing not to be on the same side as someone call yourself a Democrat or Republican, but this is still America. We're supposed to be just one America, and...
That's right. One America. All right, Chris, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Have any of you ever sent your kids on a field trip to Washington, D.C.? Or did you go on one as a child? A lot of kids take field trips to Washington, D.C. Did you see what happened to these poor students on the field trip to Washington, D.C. this week? Oh, my goodness. A group of students, they're on a field trip to D.C., and they're walking down the sidewalk with the teachers and the chaperones, and an African-American Black Lives Matter guy comes up to them and starts assault. Let me pull up the story before I play the audio. When you hear the audio, there's a lot of bleeps in there. There's so many bleeps you might think it's like a Morse code signal. And there's so many bleeps that might actually make out some Morse letters. A Black Lives Matter activist was recently filmed harassing, screaming, and threatening children who were white on a trip to Washington, D.C. And it was tweeted, so that's where I found it on the Twitter. And this is the audio. I added in the bleeps this morning. Let me pull it up here. These are just kids on a field trip, and it doesn't say how old they are. They're not fifth graders. They might be high school kids. Let me pull this up. Hold on. Where is it? Okay, here it is. They're on a field trip. They're walking down the sidewalk. This is in our nation's capital. Black Lives Matter activist comes up to them, and this is what happens. What was going through the mind of those kids? They must have been terrified. Calling, sir, just refresh it, and he just won't lay off. He won't lay off. This is pretty frightening stuff. And I got to tell you, if you have a field trip coming up, the school's coming back. If you have a field trip coming up to D.C., you should really think twice before sending your kids on that very, very important trip to Washington. That kids typically, I remember my daughter was in elementary school, they did an annual trip for the safety patrol would go up, like I think in 5th grade, but high school kids go too. And look at what's happened here, right? These kids are verbally assaulted with this ugliness. The Covington Catholic School kids, they were also verbally attacked by a guy who claimed to be a Native American, who it turned out was not. And then they were villainized. And what happened to those Covington kids, it was so sad, because I remember waking up in the morning, turning on the news and seeing the story, and I was a little angry at the kids because they were wearing MAGA hats, because the video looked like they were in the wrong, and boy, was I wrong. A lot of damage done there. But the 2 field trips to Washington, D.C., the kids both verbally assaulted in very inappropriate ways by adult minorities who obviously are liberal. You're on the radio. Good morning. Hey, Richie.
Sure. How you doing? I had a lot to say this morning.
Well, let's go. Let's hear it.
First of all, I believe that you have a false narrative going on, and you've had it going on for the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
You're saying that they want to wipe out the Democrats, want to wipe out the Democratic history, and my contention is like the gentleman that called just before me, Chris. He's a smart conservative.
No, just the Wi-Fi.
Conservatives are racist at all. But the obvious thing to me...
Just the Wi-Fi. I had to change to a different Wi-Fi.
And I'm sure people listening out there are going to agree with me. I don't blame this Black Lives guy coming and yelling at kids that you just put on, because the black guy is saying, you're going through Washington and you're going to look at the monuments of these white guys.
Well, you said I'm promoting a false narrative. What is the false narrative I'm promoting, and what is the true narrative?
Right. The coincidence is that they were Democrats during the Civil War, but Christopher Columbus is not a Democrat.
I did say, other than Christopher Columbus, there's some outliers. I've said that several times over the last week. I've said other than Christopher Columbus.
The priest in California that they took.
Okay, now the reason, when they go after where have they gone after Christopher Columbus? What cities?
Baltimore.
Okay, Baltimore, okay. That's the recent one. Before that was Columbus, Ohio, and they were talking about New York, right? The reason that they the reason they go after Columbus statues, if you look, they're in places where there are no Democrat Civil War Confederate statues. You understand? Like Ohio, New York, that was the Union, not the Confederacy. So there's no Confederate statues there. Baltimore's a border area, but they don't have the Confederate statues in Baltimore either. So all they have are the Columbus statues. So they go after that. But it's about what Nancy Pelosi took down those paintings of the speakers that she said were racist. So you don't think so you disagree with what I've been because I think I've had. You're right. I've had a narrative the past 2 or 3 weeks, and I've been talking a lot about this on my podcast extensively, that the Democrats have realized that blacks have woken up to their racist history, and that they're trying to erase and rewrite Democrat Party history to win back the black vote. You disagree with that?
I think it's coincidence. I think the fact of the matter is they're trying to wipe out white history. In other words, this country, they even said the Indian that said it with the four at what do you call it? This 4th of July, that 4 races up on a mountain that were caused by racists, white racists. Whites are Biden on 4th of July had an interview with a teacher. She says she promotes Black Lives Matter, and I'm shocked that you haven't played this. She promotes Black Lives Matter, and she says that we have to stomp out white supremacy.
Yeah.
The point is, you've always heard that we have privilege, especially males. White man's privilege. This has been a white man's country. The white man has pilfered. He's taken stuff out of.
Yeah.
On white men. You keep on thinking it's Democrats that they would tear down.
No, see what I've been saying, Richie, is the Democrats have lost a huge chunk of the black vote to President Trump. And they're strategizing, how can we win back the black vote? And there's many things in play here with the monuments and the statues. One of it is to create a villain and an issue to try to rally activism, which will vote Democrat in November. But the long game is they have not taken down a single monument of a Republican. I know they talked about Lincoln, but they haven't talked about taking down monuments of Republicans. There aren't a lot of Republican monuments.
Washington.
No, that's a random mob. The Lincoln statue. I'm talking about the Democrat officials are always talking about taking down Democrat monuments, not Republican ones.
They love to see this disruption in the country. The bottom line is this. And this guy that called up about John Wayne, he's not a white man. I can tell by his accent. He's a person of color. You ought to be proud as a person of color, whether you're black. It doesn't matter. You're American. The bottom line here is they have divided the races in this country. And this is an obvious thing. The history of this country is an all white men. And they don't.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not Democrat, Republican. You want to know the biggest racist in the world right now going on?
Who's that?
Black leaders. You have black leaders in Atlanta. You have black leaders in Baltimore. Because all those black kids are getting slaughtered.
Okay. All right, Richie, I got to run for a break. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We'll be right back.
We are chatting today with Frank, the owner of two magnificent Ace Hardware stores. One, Deerfield Beach, 365 South Federal Highway, about a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough on the west side of Federal Highway. And the other, Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, half a block west.
Time for coffee. I started coffee about
by the sea.
3.5 hours ago.
How many years have you owned this business?
I've been in the hardware business for over 40 years, Steve.
If I have a home project that I'm doing, there are so many around the house, that's the big thing today. What's the difference of my experience if I go to Ace Hardware as opposed to these major impersonal chain stores?
Oh, there's a huge difference. The basic difference is customer service. We're an old-time fashion hardware store. We have experienced people that are working in our stores, our employees.
Oh, another. You're on your second pot.
They're very experienced. They know their business. When you're doing a project, you can come into the store and you can get somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that will like to work with you. They'll find you the right project, the right pieces, the first time, so you can get in and out with the right material.
There are lots of Ace Hardware stores, but there are only two that are advertising with the Steve Kane Show. We're talking about the Deerfield location, a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough Boulevard on the west side of Federal, and of course the Beach Ace Hardware located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, a half block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the Sea. Very, very special locations. Be sure to mention Steve Kane sent you.
President Trump here. Join Steve Kane and Brian Craig on the Steve Kane Trump 2020 Victory Cruise on board the Celebrity Edge. The cruise will be to celebrate my re-election. Don't be a loser, be a winner, just like me. And join Steve Kane and Brian Craig on the Steve Kane Trump 2020 Victory Cruise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Join Steve Kane and me, Brian Craig, celebrating the victory of President Trump as we sail December 6th out of Fort Lauderdale on a 7-day Trump 2020 Victory Cruise. First stop, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Second stop, Tortola, British Virgin Islands, and then St. Martin. Call in at Cruise and Travel Depot, 561-244-5779, 561-244-5779, and join us celebrating the re-election of President Trump, 561-244-5779.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Okay, you know, yesterday we were talking about the mayor of Atlanta, who they're now saying has coronavirus. Oh, my goodness. And the Atlanta mayor, who we were talking about this yesterday, after this tragic murder of this 8-year-old little girl by the activist in Atlanta near the Wendy's. The mayor came out, the Atlanta mayor, she came out over the weekend and said, enough of this on Sunday, enough, it's over. And I was telling you, I said, you know, she's on the short list for Biden's Veep picks. She's going to be off the list now because she's come out, she's criticized Black Lives Matter. She's laid blame to the activist as to the death. You know, and I was watching, she's done a correction, which I'm going to share with you in a moment. I watched CNN a little bit yesterday afternoon, and I turned off the news around the time the 5 came on. I was so disgusted by what was going on all the news outlets. I'm sorry. I've got the ID channel back on Xfinity. Xfinity added the ID channel, and it was much more relaxing watching true stories about murders and home invasions and all this stuff than it was watching the news. It was much more relaxing because it was pissing me off. Over the weekend, there were some pretty hardcore, terrible incidents, like the little girl in Atlanta who was murdered by the activist in that shooting. Multiple shooters, the mayor said. And what they were doing on cable news yesterday was making it a gun control issue. They showed some young children who died over the weekend, and they all said to gun violence. Well, that's technically accurate, but it's not really accurate. Certainly the death in Atlanta was because the activists set up an illegal barricade near the Wendy's. The mother violated the barrier that they set up. They were inspired by Chaz and Chop in Seattle. You know, it's not a gun control issue. It's not a gun control issue. I'll probably tell you, they don't know who murdered the little girl in Atlanta, but I promise you they've got felony convictions, and the laws would prevent them from possessing any type of firearm. But they had them. You don't fire so cool and calmly if you haven't done it before. And they were so distracting from what was going on. And I was telling you yesterday, I said the Atlanta mayor, she was on the short list, but she's out now. She's out now because she criticized the activists. She criticized Black Lives Matter. She said enough is enough. Get out of there. And she was talking about sending in the police to clear them out. Now, I know the governor of Georgia has declared a state of emergency. How much can this country take? Right? The COVID pandemic, the financial shutdown, the economic shutdown, the unemployment, National Guard all over the place. I mean, I just can't believe it's surreal. I mean, I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience. I feel like I haven't accepted truly what's going on here. The Atlanta mayor, who was taken off of the short list because she said enough is enough, she's trying to get back on it. Here she is. This is the mayor of Atlanta.
And I was listening to Mayor Lightfoot. She said.
Now, Mayor Lightfoot, who you're going to hear about from in just a bit, Mayor Lightfoot, she's the mayor of Chicago.
And I was listening to Mayor Lightfoot. She summed it up. We talk about systemic racism and the trauma and anxiety and all these things that are happening in our communities, and it is this convergence, and I hate to use the word a perfect storm, but it's where we are in this country right now. And you think about the leadership or the lack thereof that we have coming from the highest office in the land. I think that you are seeing so many emotions play out, and so too often it's playing out in violence in our streets.
Okay. She's blaming President Trump for the violence in our streets. She's blaming President Trump for the death of the little girl. She's blaming President Trump for the death of Brooks at the Wendy's. She's blaming him for the murder in Minneapolis. All these victims, little girl wasn't political. These are in Democrat towns, and they're all Democrats. Okay? Brooks was a Democrat. The cops are Democrats. Minneapolis, Democrats on both sides, both the murderer and the victim, Democrats. What does this have to do with Trump? Is Trump somehow in charge of the policing in Atlanta? You know, the Atlanta mayor, I read a report today that she's tested positive for coronavirus. I haven't seen that confirmed, but it's been reported. I've seen it in multiple sources, actually, this morning. Over the weekend, she said enough is enough. She was blaming Black Lives Matter and the activist at the Wendy's in Atlanta for the death of the 8-year-old little baby. Well, she was marching with the activist just a short time ago. In fact, the reports about her testing positive for coronavirus are suggesting she picked it up from the protest that she was taking part in. So she was marching with the people that she now said enough is enough. But that's Trump's fault? How is that Trump's fault? Of course, they don't ask her. They don't ask her. And if you notice, these Democrat elected officials, the mayor of Atlanta, the mayor of Chicago, and the governor of New York, Fredo's brother, all blaming Trump for their failures. Now, that may play with their sycophant constituents. But among thinking people, how is the situation in Atlanta Trump's fault? How is what happened over the weekend in the bloodbath in Chicago Trump's fault? How is it Trump's fault what's going on in Democrat New York City and Democrat New York State? You've seen these terrible stories of the shooting. There's one of the father walking his kid who got shot. Oh my goodness, I haven't watched the video. I'm not going to watch it. I can't watch that. I'm not going to watch it. That's de Blasio's fault. You know, de Blasio's not just talking, he's actually defunding the police. He's got his daughter out there taking part in activist events against the police and praising her when she gets busted. It's the wild, wild west up there. It's not safe. It's not safe. You know, Fredo's brother, Governor Cuomo's talking about putting people who travel to New York from places like Florida in 12-day isolation. who the hell would go to New York right now? Who would go to New York City right now? There's a crime issue. It's very dangerous on top of the COVID issue in New York. Who the hell would go to New York that did not have to right now? Is it safe? Let me take our break for the bottom of the hour. When we get back, there's more to share, all right? My name is Brian Craig. This is The Steve Kane Show. Don't go anywhere.
Stop paying an outrageous fortune for your tires. Go easy on your budget and buy your tires at Friendly Tire in Margate, where they have all the major brands like Goodyear and Firestone at discount prices that absolutely can't be beaten. Steve Kane's tires for his Toyota van at the other shops, $175 a tire. At Friendly Tire, just $75 a tire. That's a $100 savings per tire. Tires for my daughter Emily's car, $135 at the shops around town. The price at Friendly Tire, only $65. That's a $70 savings per tire. These prices are out the door and on the road. Free mounting and balancing and no added charges. Friendly Tire have a great selection of good used tires too, starting at just $30 for most cars. Call my good buddy Friendly Mike at Friendly Tire. Tell him what you drive and he will give you a great low price right over the phone at 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. Are you concerned with the distribution of your assets at the time of your passing? Avoid probate. Call the Siegel Law Group with 9 offices throughout South Florida, from Palm Beach Gardens to Coral Gables. Call toll-free 1-855-FLA-3782.
Listen to The Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio.
Welcome back. I'm Brian Craig. This is The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. I want to tell you about Champagne Automotive Repair in Boca, where they will never perform a repair on your vehicle that it does not need. You know, when it comes to automotive repair, I think people just assume they're going to get ripped off, right? I mean, unless you're a master mechanic yourself, do you typically trust the automotive repair shop you go to? Probably not. You just take their word for it, which you know you can't do, but what are you going to do, right? Well, I know what I do and what you should do and what Steve Kane does and what his family. You go to Champagne Automotive Repair, where they will never tell you or perform a repair on your vehicle that it does not need. You know, this is so important, so important. You know, we have wanted an auto repair shop on this program for so long, but it's almost impossible to find someone that you can trust. And I'm so happy we found Champagne Automotive Repair. They do not just incredible mechanical work, they also do body work. Steve had body work done on his Toyota van. It looked brand new. I went with him Friday to pick it up. Unbelievable. My Ford Explorer, my 2003 Ford Explorer with 180,000 miles on it. Took it in there, new radiator, boom. Getting new brakes, boom. That's it. Done. On the road. It's amazing. It's amazing. You know, and listen, no matter where you are within the listening range of our radio stations, it is worth the drive, no matter where you are, to Champagne Automotive Repair in Boca Raton, because they will take very good care of you. They are listeners to this program. That you'll have a common bond with them. But mostly, you can trust them, and they are very, very good at what they do. Their number, 561-245-8101, 561-245-8101. They're listed at stevekaneshow.com. They do everything from oil changes to transmission work as well, and everything in between. They work on all makes and models, no matter how old, like mine, or how new. They can help you. 561-245-8101. All right, so yeah, I know what's going on in this country. So let's see here. We heard from the Atlanta mayor. Let's hear from the Chicago mayor. This is the mayor of Chicago. Now, of course, it was just major bloodshed over the weekend in Chicago. The Chicago mayor comes out with an explanation to the violence in Chicago over the weekend that's being widely reported.
The situation as Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot tells me they're all factors contributing to this grim reality. Compared to last year, shootings up 40%, homicides up more than 30%. So just point blank, What is happening right now?
All of these forces are coming together at the same time and making it very difficult. The ecosystem of public safety that isn't just law enforcement, but is local, community-based, they too have really been hit hard by COVID and are now just kind of coming back online and getting their footing.
Okay, so she's blaming coronavirus on the high crime. You know, the reason you have like in New York, you have a very left-wing city government. And like in New York, in Chicago, the police, they don't have a chief of police. They've got a superintendent of police in Chicago. I don't know, why do they call the chief of police the superintendent? Is it because of the racist and the Indian thing? Is that why it's superintendent and not police chief? By the way, do we have to change? Can police chiefs no longer be chiefs? Do they all have to be superintendents now? Is that racist? Well, anyway, you know, the superintendent, the police chief, superintendent of Chicago, is there, right, at the pleasure of the mayor. And you have a liberal, soft on crime, anti-police government. So the leadership of the police can't do what they would like to do because the modern age of liberals, maybe it's always been this way, but the liberals that are running these major cities are sympathetic to the criminals. You know, if you take her at her word, she's saying that the police are down a little bit because of the COVID, right? They have fewer people on the job. So if that is true, is she saying that this defund the police movement's a bad... Is she saying there's not enough police in Chicago? Let me tell you something about government. You never have to worry about there not being enough of it. You know, the problem in Chicago is a simple one. No one cares enough to do anything about it. My solution for Chicago's gun violence is a simple solution. Offer $5,000, no questions asked reward, to anyone who gives information to law enforcement to someone who is illegally in possession of a weapon. That's not a gun buyback, by the way. A gun buyback program is, okay, come down here, we'll give you a gift certificate to Walmart for $20 for your gun. No, I'm not talking about a gun buyback. You give $5,000 like a Crime Stoppers program for information leading to the arrest of someone illegally possessing a weapon, and you bring stop and frisk into Chicago, you'll find the murders start to evaporate, the shootings start to go away. But they really don't want to do anything about it. Because it doesn't, I was talking to a call in the first hour, it doesn't fit their narrative. You know, Black Lives Matter, in theory, is a good organization. It sprung up after George Zimmerman murdered Trayvon Martin. He got away with murdering Trayvon Martin twice. He wasn't arrested or charged for months, and then when he was acquitted. It was a terrible thing. Black Lives Matter came around. It's been co-opted since then. But if Black Lives Matter said, enough is enough in Chicago, we are going to go to Chicago, Black Lives Matter, and we are going to stop the murders in Chicago that are happening every weekend, these bloodbaths, they would gain so much support and credibility that would transfer to the Democrats. So why don't they do that? You know, if Black Lives Matter's mission statement is to preserve the lives of African Americans, Black Lives Matter, which we all support, who's against that? Why do they not go en masse to Chicago? If they sent massive activists to Chicago that they have in Atlanta at the Wendy's and all over the country, could you imagine what would happen? It would stop. On top of my Crime Stopper program, it would stop. And it would not take very long. So why do they not want to clean up the problem? I don't have an answer to that. I guess that there's no political gain in it. Maybe that's why politicians only care about political gain. Now, Cuomo in New York, he was holding court again yesterday. He had a press conference again yesterday. You know Fredo's brother, the governor of New York? I tell you, this family, Mario Cuomo, he really did a number, right, on his sons. Both of his sons, especially Chris, Fredo. Oh, my goodness, he's so messed up. But anyway, Governor Cuomo, Fredo's brother, Andrew Cuomo, he was holding court, had another press conference yesterday, and he said what I would consider to be the most outrageous thing he has ever said about President Trump in regards to what's going on with the COVID deaths in New York. Listen to this. This is Fredo's brother, Governor Cuomo, yesterday.
Mr. President, don't be a co-conspirator of COVID. Do one simple thing. Acknowledge to the American people that COVID exists.
I love how Cuomo talks slowly so that you can just take in every word, and he doesn't really have a lot to say. So if he talks slowly, he can drag out what he's saying. Now he's calling Trump a co-conspirator so far as COVID. Everything that happened in New York, okay? Everything that happened in New York in response to coronavirus, everything that was good happened because of President Trump. He sent the hospital ship. He sent the ventilators. He sent all of the supplies for the hospitals. He built multiple field hospitals with the Army Corps of Engineers. What did Governor Cuomo do? What is one thing positive that Governor Cuomo did in the state of New York and in the city of New York? Trump did everything. Anyway, back to this. Cuomo yesterday trying to transfer his problems on the Trump.
Mr. President, don't be a co-conspirator of COVID. Do one simple thing. Acknowledge to the American people that COVID exists. It is a major problem. It's going to continue until we admit it and each of us stands up to do our part.
Can anyone tell me what Governor Cuomo has done that you would consider his part throughout this entire crisis?
If he does not acknowledge it, then he is facilitating the virus. He is enabling the virus. How did this become a political statement? This is common sense. And let the president start by sending that signal very simply.
Steve Kane Show.
Just wear the mask.
Hey, we're going to be off on Thursday, but back on Friday, just to let you know.
Just wear the mask and say to the American people, this is real and it's a problem and we have to do our part.
I thought when he sent the hospital ship and built the field hospitals and all of that, I thought President Trump was acknowledging there was an issue there. Now, so far as a mask, see, the mask I'm going to tell you about after the break. There's a big reason why they are pushing the mask. And there's a big reason why Cuomo is doing what Cuomo is doing right now. Okay? But first, let's talk to Dr. Mitch Matez, our anti-aging doctor here on the Steve Kane Show. Dr. Matez, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a new week. It's Tuesday already. Into the holiday week.
That was the first hour of today's show, Brian, was absolutely spectacular.
They should put the first hour of today's show in the Radio Hall of Fame.
That was not only, it was a masterful exhibit.
Well, I learned from the best. I learned from the best, Steve Kane. But that to get into the Radio Hall of Fame, I'll never be in there because you got to be a big donor. I don't make enough money to donate money like Savage.
Technicality, because it occurred to me, I'm probably the longest running sponsor of the Steve Kane Radio.
You know what? Currently, that is true.
People know who they're.
Well, that fits right into the anti-aging theme.
I don't know if you can do this, but if you go back and listen to me talking 15 years ago on the Steve Kane Show, I probably was saying about the same stuff I'm saying today.
Absolutely.
I sound about the same because I practice what I preach.
Michael Savage.
I have all the energy I need. I have strength, endurance, vigor, attitude. I got it all.
That's right.
Because I treat myself. I'm a patient. Like the guy in the razor commercial. I like the razor so much, I bought the company.
That's right.
Treatment so much, I do it for myself.
When did you first find out about hormone replacement pellet therapy?
I I was doing actually some hormone replacement therapy in the early 2000s, and I went to take some educationals in, I think, 2004 climate area. So the first pellets that I put in South Florida was 2005, and I was by a mile the first guy.
Oh, yeah.
3 to 5 years before even another person came around. By the way, folks, there's a lot of people doing it all over the place, and there's a lot of people that don't know what they're doing. So you got to be very, very careful. We are the first, the original, and we're still doing it, and we're still doing it to perfect.
Now this is something interesting you say, because I tell people this. Hormone therapy has become what Botox used to be. A lot of doctors that were primary care physicians started doing Botox in the 90s and things because it was like this in vogue thing. And hormone replacement therapy is a similar thing. You do this all day, every day. It is your practice, and it has been for 15 years. And a lot of these guys that are out there doing it, it's kind of like something they do on the side to make some extra bucks. And I would prefer to go to someone like you for hormone replacement pellet therapy who's had thousands upon thousands of patients. Basically, this is your specialty, right?
Confidence, Brian, but I would suggest to you, if you want to do this and you want to get it right, listen, if you're out there and you've been to the doctor, tried quote-unquote hormone therapy and didn't have success, don't think you shouldn't come and see us, because particularly with hormone pellet therapy, the success rate is astronomical. It really is. It is the only way to completely and officially, by medical criteria, reverse the menopause and the andropause.
Yeah, and I have talked to so many listeners over the years that are patients of Dr. Mitch Matez. I've not heard one single complaint or one regret when someone's had hormone replacement pellet therapy. All they do is praise, praise, praise. Listen, if you tried hormone therapy in the past with another physician somewhere, call Dr. Matez. It's a completely free consultation for listeners of the Steve Kane Show. So you got nothing to lose but a little bit of time. 561-953-5490. 561-953-5490, and online, hormone therapy, BocaRaton.com. All right, Dr. Matez, we will talk later in the week. All right, take care, take care. All right, let's finish up the break, and then we will be back right after this. Okay, don't you go anywhere. My name's Brian. This is The Steve Kane Show.
Lab Tests Now of Boca and Coral Springs are the best labs to go to when you need quick and affordable lab work that's private and accurate. Don't go to those other labs where you have to wait hours just to be seen by an unfriendly lab tech. Everything at any Lab Test Now of Boca and Coral Springs is first class. The labs are super clean, the techs highly skilled and professional, plus their prices are the lowest you will find. Guaranteed. If your time is valuable, and I know it is, you cannot wait around to get your lab work. Any Lab Test Now of Boca and Coral Springs are the places you need to go. You will be seen quickly, with no appointment, no doctor's order or prescription necessary, in and out in 15 minutes or less, and they're always friendly and courteous. When you go to any Lab Test Now of Boca and Coral Springs, you are putting your health care in your own hands. You are in control. They have every test you need, whether it's a blood test, urine test, drug test, STD test, or any other lab test. Any Lab Test Now of Boca and Coral Springs have you covered. Any Lab Test Now of Boca is in the Sandalfoot Plaza, where the Western Beef is, between Palmetto and Hillsboro, on the east side of State Road 7. Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs is on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood, near the Coral Square Mall. Call any Lab Test Now of Boca at 561-237-5009. Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs, 954-906-5983. Any Lab Test Now of Boca and any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs. Make sure you tell them you heard about them on The Steve Kane Show. Please.
All right, welcome back. Yeah, so let me finish up, with Cuomo. Let me just play a little bit of Cuomo again, and then I'll finish up with that. We'll move on to some other things.
Mr. President, don't be a co-conspirator of COVID. Do one simple thing. Acknowledge to the American people that COVID exists. It is a major problem. It's going to continue until we admit it and each of us stands up to do our part. If he does not acknowledge that, then he is facilitating the virus. He is enabling the virus. How did this become a political statement? This is common sense. And let the president start by sending that signal very simply. Just wear the mask.
Okay. This is what's going on with this mask talk with Cuomo. Cuomo is being positioned to be the Democrat nominee in the next election. Not this one. It's too late. Right? And they've got this guy running. Trump is very popular right now. They know this. Cuomo, I would, it's so far away, 2024. It might as well be 5 million years away from now. But today, Governor Cuomo is most likely to be the next Democrat president of the United States. After Trump's second term, it's 50-50. He could be the president. I'm talking about right now. A lot of things can happen. Cuomo has a big problem. Cuomo's problem is his incompetence during the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic in the state of New York. It's a very interesting thing because when this came up, excuse me, I got a dry throat here. I got to take a drink. Let me have some of my cold, hours-old coffee here. Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. I yak all day long, so. Cuomo's got a big problem with COVID-19, and it is sending all of those senior citizens back to the nursing homes. 40% of those who have died from COVID-19 are from nursing homes, and the numbers in New York are just nightmare numbers. They've had over 30,000 deaths in New York, and a huge chunk, about half of them are seniors. It's all connected to the nursing homes, and Cuomo sent people back to the nursing homes. And if you go right now online and do a Google News search on nursing home deaths in New York, you will find, I did it this morning because I was going to play that clip, story after story, totally clear Cuomo. Even so-called conservative news outlets, they're clearing Governor Cuomo. They're positioning him to be the next president of the United States after Trump's second term. See, he is New York, and New York is where the media are based out of. The national media are based out of New York. He is friends with all of these people, and he's been friends with them his entire life because of his father, Governor Cuomo, Mario. And they're trying now to get this narrative going. In Florida, we've had a little over 3,000 COVID deaths. They've had 10 times as many in the state of New York. And we have a larger population. We have over 20 million people in Florida. They have about 19 million in the state of New York. And their deaths are 10 times greater than ours. How could that be? Well, it's the incompetence of Governor Cuomo. De Blasio helped a lot too because a big chunk of them are in New York City, but de Blasio was just doing what Cuomo told him to do. So we're talking about all this revisionist history going on with the monuments. There's also a major revisionism going on in the modern news cycle about the deaths in New York, and they are desperate to blame Trump for them because they need to clear Cuomo because they're going to run him in 2024. His dad always dreamed of being the president, never made it. He's going to get the nomination in 2024, probably. And again, a lot's going to happen. New people can come up. I'll tell you this, in 2024, it's not going to be Beto or Mayor Pete. And the Democrat, during the beginnings of the COVID crisis, it was very scary to me. I was talking to my wife about this yesterday. It was frightening. We went out and did some of the panic buying. We loaded up our freezer in the garage, our refrigerator. I had more bottled water and supplies around. I've only just recently started using what I would consider my COVID food stock. I mean, it was scary. I didn't know what was... Any of you guys like this? Oh my gosh. I went out to the store with my wife. We did the big purchases before they started limiting what you could buy, and we loaded up. I probably got enough spaghetti and rice to last 5 years, But, yeah, I know. It was a scary time. And I remember when We didn't know what was happening. It was a lot like the few weeks after 9/11, but it was scarier because it wasn't too long after we knew everything was under control. There'd be no more attacks. But in the beginning of the COVID crisis, we did not know. It was very frightening. And I think here on the Steve Kane Show, we were pretty early on with it. The first thing I remember about COVID was, and some of you may remember, Candace Owens had a Blexit event coming up in Fort Lauderdale, and I was talking on a Friday that I was going to go to the Blexit event with my daughter over the weekend to meet Candace Owens. And we didn't go that weekend. And I didn't tell you guys at the time because I thought maybe I was being a little crazy and I didn't want to panic. I didn't go to the Blexit event to meet Candace Owens. I could have with my daughter. I had a ticket and I would have been able to meet Candace Owens. I wanted my daughter to meet Candace Owens more than me wanting to meet her, but I wanted to meet her too and get a selfie with her and all that. We did not go to the Blexit because of the COVID. And so I don't know what the date of that was, but that was the first time I was like, whoa, you know, we can't do it. Can't do it. And so whatever the date was with that, that's when I was first like, whoa. And it was pretty scary in the beginning. And when I saw Fredo's brother, Governor Cuomo, have his first press conference on television, I was not happy with it. And I wasn't happy with it because we were in a very critical time. It was very scary. And when I saw him in that first press conference, I knew he was going to be the next president of the United States after Trump. I knew it. I did not like that. And he was doing them every day. And he's a very scary person. All the Democrats are. Look at how the Democrats have reacted. Dade County is shut down again. All right? They're shutting down again this weekend. Many people, and I know Dade County has a lot of Republicans down there. It's not solely Democrat in Dade. But if you look at where Democrats control, they're using this COVID crisis to take control and take your rights, take your liberties away from you. You know, Dade County's just getting back. Florida's just getting back. And Dade County shuts down. And they do it with no laws being passed, no judges' rulings. They just have edicts from low-level bureaucrats. You look at Cuomo. My goodness. You know, where Democrat, if we had a Democrat, if Cuomo was the president instead of Donald Trump, when this happened at the beginning of the year, this country would have been shut down 100% coast to coast, all the territories, everything, all the way out to Hawaii, and we'd still be under complete lockdown. Complete lockdown. And Democrats, you know, what Democrats are all about are taking your rights away. That's everything they do is about limiting your freedom. And now, I don't see them ever letting this go. And the mask thing now is they're trying to lay blame on Trump for not wearing a mask as to all these problems we're having around the country. The big problems are all in Democrat areas. Okay, why that is, there's lots of reasons why. I'm not going to go through a list like Hannity every day and tell you what they are. You guys know as well as I do, maybe even more than I do, on the specifics of that. But they're trying, you know, this is an election year for Democrats too. They might have written off the presidency, but there's Senate races, there's House races, there's governors, there's local officials. You know, they're using this to scare people and to present the Republicans as not being responsible and handling things, when the opposite is the truth. Because if you look at where things in the country are going well, all in Republican-controlled areas and Republican-controlled states and cities. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is. So this transfer that's going on with Cuomo is about trying to resurrect Cuomo and to set him up to be the president in 2024. And let me tell you, he's arrogant. He's not that bright, Cuomo, and he's mad with power. And, you know, there have been a lot of Democrats over the years that I haven't liked that have run for office. He's the most dangerous of all because how much he loves power over people, loves telling people what to do. And once they take it, they don't give it back. All right, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. McEnany yesterday just destroyed the White House press corps yesterday. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch more in the third and final hour. My name's Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. We'll be right back.
5.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
Attention homeowners, this is Scott from Cut by Kilowatts. I'm here to cut your electric bill and save you a lot of money. Perhaps even eliminate your electric bill altogether. We do this by making your entire home energy efficient, by upgrading some or all of the following: roofs, doors, windows, insulating your attic, AC systems and ducts, hot water heaters, and even adding solar. Energy efficient improvements that actually pay for themselves over a short period of time. Our program is designed to make the savings on your electric bill pay for all or part of your low monthly payments. The PACE program is government sponsored and gives you up to 30 years to pay. Requires no credit check, no money down, no income verification, and no payments for up to 18 months. You only need to be current on your mortgage and taxes for the last 3 years to qualify. Energy savings and hurricane solutions made easy. Call 954-939-1500. 954-939-1500 to start saving money now.
If you suffer with diabetes, there's a 25% chance that you'll develop a foot ulcer that can lead to severe health consequences, including amputation.
Make sure you guys subscribe.
At the sole authority, at little or no cost, you can receive your very own therapeutic shoes and custom inserts. Medicare recipients are entitled to 1 pair of quality diabetic shoes and 3 custom inserts. Call the sole authority today, 954-597-7060. This is Steve Kane for attorney Barry Siegel. Barry did a great job for me and my family when we needed a revocable living trust. Listen to one of our listeners, Ray, talk about his experience with Barry Siegel.
I want to praise Barry Siegel. And one of the most important things about sponsors is integrity. You have to know that you're dealing with an honest person. I had to go up to Myrtle Beach with my sister because her husband died, and I was helping her out. She had a trust and everything. She had not revised this trust since 1997. And you know, Barry says every 3 years at least you gotta. I called Barry's office because I had a question. I let the secretary know. I said, look, I'm calling from South Carolina. I know the laws are different, and I'm just asking for information for my sister. Now, you know, most people just blow you up, right? Yeah. You know, almost immediately, within a few minutes, Barry himself called me. I asked my questions and so on, and he answered. He was very patient. And I was quite a while with him, and talked about a lot of things, you know, and this and that. But I want to say, you know, character, integrity, these are the most important things with sponsors, and all of your sponsors, because I've dealt with a lot of them, they all have that you can trust them and you know you're getting a fair shake.
Do what Ray did. Call attorney Barry Siegel right now. Toll free 1-855-FLA-3782. That's 1-855 toll free FLA-3782. Tell them Steve sent you.
They'd whisker away. Why is that?
You are listening to South Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. To call the show toll-free, dial 1-888-GO-KANE-1. That's 1-888-GO-KANE-1. And now.
All right, third and final hour has begun. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show. All right, did you guys catch the McEnany press conference yesterday? You should try to. And if you miss her press conferences, watch them on YouTube. They're typically very short. They're about 25 minutes long. And they're very good. And she always ends on a high note, mic drop. And I got 2 clips I want to play. The first one, this isn't from the press conference. This is an interview that McEnany did yesterday on Fox, yesterday morning. And it was before the press conference. The president tweeted yesterday something about Bubba Wallace and a hoax. And President Trump suggested on Twitter that since it was not a noose, he called it a hoax, he used the word hoax, that Bubba Wallace should apologize to the racers and crews of NASCAR who he was accusing of being racist and hanging a noose. And this just set the left on fire. Kayleigh McEnany did an interview on Fox, and she was challenged by this. This is McEnany on Fox yesterday talking about Bubba Wallace and President Trump's tweet.
So NASCAR, I would note, their statement says that this garage pool rope was there since last fall, since far before the teams arrived at these garages. They also said definitively, as the FBI investigation determined it, that there was no hate crime versus Bubba committed. What the president is making is a broader point, that this rush to judgment on the facts before the facts are out is not acceptable. And we saw it with the Covington kids, and we saw it with Jesse Smollett, and now we saw it in this case before the FBI came to that conclusion.
People are going to quickly point out that that comparison is not fair. To call this a hoax when he stands by that he truly believes that that's what it was.
Right. Well, the Federal Bureau of Investigation does not stand by that assessment. The president's merely pointing out that we've got to let facts come out before we rush to judgments. And there was no hate crime committed against Bubba Wallace, as determined by the FBI, as noted in a NASCAR statement.
Okay, now, this is something that's very important because the left were in total meltdown after this interview. They were in total meltdown before because President Trump tweeted hoax with the Bubba Wallace Noose NASCAR incident. Now, this is what none of them consider at all. This is what none of them consider at all. Because they hate Donald Trump. I mean, it's in there. They just can't see straight. They hate Donald Trump so much. All right? They don't accept him as the president of the United States. Many of them don't even call him that. They say the occupant of the White House and all these things. A lot of people are wondering, why did Donald Trump bring this up? This was settled a week or so ago, right? The FBI, they came out, they said it wasn't a noose, and why did Donald Trump all of a sudden start using hoax with Bubba Wallace? Well, I have a theory that I'm going to share with you. I believe President Trump was briefed by the FBI. If it was not yesterday, it was over the weekend, probably yesterday because he took to Twitter with it. He was briefed by the FBI on the Bubba Wallace investigation, and that's when he took to Twitter. He has seen the results of the investigation, and I believe they're the ones who called it a hoax. And President Trump tweeted this to get a discussion going. And you know, I imagine the FBI either has, because they investigated this Bubba Wallace Noose incident that was not a news, the investigators either know or have very strong reason to believe more was in play with that than the public has known. And Trump wants people talking about it because he knows everything about the investigation because he was briefed on it. But you got to understand, when President Trump tweets about anything, whatever it is, this isn't the host of The Celebrity Apprentice anymore who's just firing off crazy tweets on his opinions on the news. He's the sitting president of the United States who gets daily briefings from all of the intelligence agencies and agencies under him. And he was briefed, and as after he was briefed, he took to Twitter. And his words were very carefully chosen about Bubba Wallace. So it's a very interesting thing. Because what does Donald Trump know from his briefing that we haven't been informed about yet? We're going to find out. Because Bubba Wallace made a big mistake yesterday. He's challenged Trump. And because he has challenged Trump, he's becoming this Kaepernick-like figure with NASCAR. More is going to come out about that incident. And I think the more that comes out, the less Bubba Wallace is going to want to deal with it. Okay, now McEnany in the press conferences, if you're on hold, stand by. We'll get to the calls in just a moment. Let me get to this next clip first. Our number, by the way, if you'd like to call in, if you take issue with anything that you've heard on the air this morning, I've had so much stuff. I know a lot of you have been calling in. I haven't gotten to the calls. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-GO-CANE1, 888-465-2631. Toll-free call from anywhere, no matter where you're listening, no matter where you're watching us or listening online or here locally, of course, in South Florida. 1-888-GO-CANE1. That's Kane with a K, K-A-N-E, and the number 1. 888-465-2631. Okay, so Kayleigh McEnany's press conferences are just spectacular. Ari Fleischer, who was at one time the press secretary for George W. Bush. Oh, don't let me forget about something with George W. Bush. from over the weekend. I was listening to Joe Rogan, and I picked up something on him. GW, I'm so disgusted that I voted for him. But anyway, GW. Ari Fleischer, a few months back, it was either right before McEnany was named the press secretary or before she started, or it was around the time she started or right before. Ari Fleischer was on Fox, and he was talking about Trump versus the media in these press conferences. In particular, it was the coronavirus task force press conferences. And he was talking about how the president stays up there too long, that he really needs to keep these press briefings to about 25 minutes. And I've noticed since Ari Fleischer said that, the White House press briefings have been about 25 minutes, especially with McEnany. So if Ari Fleischer is not secretly advising Trump and McEnany, Trump is taking Ari Fleischer's advice from just watching him as a pundit on the Fox News channel. Whether it's official or unofficial, Ari Fleischer is someone that President Trump listens to. But McEnany not only has taken the advice of Ari Fleischer and kept the press conferences to about 25 minutes, she always ends with a mic drop. She goes through everything. She does everything with them. She ends with a big mic drop. She might as well just drop the mic like Chris Rock on the stage, and then she walks off. And the media and the press corps have a meltdown because the media believe the purposes of the press conference is for them to look good. Not to get any truth, not to get any answers, and certainly not to be humiliated like they are by McEnany every day. It's for them, the members of the press, to look like the heroes that they are. And McEnany, every day, she ends with a mic drop and she walks off and they can't follow up. This is why they're not carrying them live. They complained for 9 months that there were no daily televised press conferences at the White House. They bring them back with McEnany. Now all of a sudden they don't want to cover them on CNN and MSDNC. So this was the end yesterday. Now yesterday they were talking question after question on the Confederate flag, and is the president sorry that the Rebs, the same old rhetoric. And then McEnany ends with this mic drop. This is McEnany end of yesterday's press conference.
I'll head in with this. I was asked probably 12 questions about the Confederate flag. This president is focused on action. I'm a little dismayed that I didn't receive one question on the deaths that we got in this country this weekend. I didn't receive one question about New York City shootings doubling for the third straight week, and over the last 7 days, shootings skyrocket by 142%. Not one question. I didn't receive one question about 5 children who were killed, and I'll leave you with this remark by a dad. It broke my heart. A dad of an 8-year-old lost in Atlanta this weekend.
About Kanye,
they
I
say
don't.
Black Lives Matters. You killed a child. She didn't do nothing to nobody, was his quote. We need to be focused on securing our streets, making sure no lives are lost, because all Black lives matter. That of David Dorn and that of this 8-year-old girl. Thank you.
Then she walks off. Now she walks off, and you hear, but we're supposed to make you look bad. You're making us look like creeps. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. And this clip, I pulled it off of Fox. You're going to hear Harris Faulkner comes in. Listen to Harris Faulkner live.
That of David Dorn and that of this 8-year-old girl. Thank you.
Well, that was quite the mic drop, because that's actually true what that grandfather and his daughter were saying after their little 8-year-old was gunned down outside that Wendy's. The mom was trying to go around the barrier.
Yeah, so Harris Faulkner even called it a mic drop. Oh, my goodness. She's so good, McEnany. McEnany's going to be around forever. She'll probably be in Congress at some point. She's what is she, 31 years old or something? She is the best press secretary in the history of press secretaries. Good morning, you're on the radio.
Hey, good morning, Conservative.
Oh, hey, Doug.
That lady is the best press secretary we ever had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As you know, President Trump is never wrong. He brings up this NASCAR con, and to let everybody know that this country is not racist at all. Somebody was on one of the shows the other day and said, if this country is so racist, why has every racist incident that's been reported been a hoax?
Well, what's going on with Bubba Wallace. with Bubba Wallace, what's going on is his role in this, he says he had nothing to do with it. You know, somebody else on his crew saw it and reported it. But when Bubba Wallace found out through the investigation that it was not a noose and that this rope had been there for 2 or 3 years, he seemed disappointed to me. He wanted it so bad to be that. You know, and I think a lot of it has to do with, I didn't realize this really until yesterday. Twitter was all on fire about this. Do you know that Bubba Wallace and I have something in common? Do you know what it is? What do I have in common with Bubba Wallace?
I have no idea. Maybe. Go on.
Neither of, no, I'm not a big NASCAR fan. What do I have in common with Bubba Wallace? It's this. Bubba Wallace and little old me, neither of us have won a NASCAR race. And yeah, I know that may come to a, this, you would think he was some big NASCAR victory. He hasn't won a single NASCAR. Have you? Have you won a NASCAR race, Doug?
No, sir.
See, you and Bubba Wallace also have something in common.
That's true.
Steve Kane Show.
That
Steve Kane Show.
The fact that
Hey, hold on.
everything we hear, only.
No, absolutely. All right, Doug, appreciate the call. Good morning. You're on the radio. Yes.
Have you seen a picture of the garage?
I have. It's a loop. It's a loop. It's a loop. It was, the FBI investigation said that it was there for what, 2 or 3 years? So is there some psychic NASCAR racist who said, 3 years, I see into the future, in 3 years, Bubba Wallace will use this garage?
Agree with you that, but some years ago.
What? Maybe.
Wallace, whatever, screwing around, but.
Maybe.
Fish and not. You got to practice to make.
Was it a hoax? No, you don't. You just Google. Was it a hoax?
I'm agreeing with you 100%, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it was touched.
Okay. Maybe, maybe not. It does. Does it matter?
Well, to say it's not a noose is.
No, it's not. What is the purpose of a noose? Okay, so was that rope intended to be used for something for those purposes?
If it was, then if you grab that loop, it would tighten up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Does Bubba Wallace seem happy that there wasn't a racial incident, or sad and disappointed?
I don't know. It's all a bunch of hoopla. I don't. What can I tell you? NASCAR's losing it. NFL's losing it.
Yeah.
And I said,
Okay. Well, I appreciate the call. Oh, I'm getting my Explorer back from Champaign Automotive Repair with new brakes, a new radiator. I'm all excited. And the first place I am going to go in my Ford Explorer is over to Friendly Tire. In fact, I'm going over to Friendly Tire today. I got to talk to Mike. I wanted to order some new tires for my Explorer. My Explorer has been sitting in my driveway for a long, long time, and I've not bought new tires on it in years. And I'm going to buy 4 new tires for my Ford Explorer. And, I don't even bother asking Mike for the prices anymore because I know the prices are going to be so low and out of this world, it's always going to be a great deal. He has incredible deals. On my daughter's car, I had to get new tires for my daughter's car. The lowest price I could find around town, $135 a tire. Friendly Mike's price, $65 a tire. A $70 savings per tire. Now remember, Friendly Tire doesn't charge you to mount the tire or balance the tire. There are no added fees. these prices are out the door and on the road. My wife's car, the lowest price I could find around town, $165 a tire. Friendly Mike's price, $75 a tire. A $90 savings per tire. The savings greater than the cost of the tire. These are new tires out the door on the road. Steve's Sienna van, the lowest price we could find around town, $175 a tire. Friendly Tires price, $75 a tire. A $100 savings per tire. Unbelievably low prices, right? I know. And I know a lot of you know how great the prices are too. These are new tire prices. He also has thousands of used tires in stock, starting at just $30 a tire for most sizes. No matter what type of vehicle you have, he'll get you incredible deals. If you have a high-end sports car, a luxury automobile, an SUV, run flats, whatever type of tire you need, he can get for you. And he'll get it for you at a price that I know cannot be beat anywhere else. Give Mike a call, all right? His number at Friendly Tire, 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. Friendly Tire located in Margate at 5415 Northwest 15th Street, which is just north of Coconut Creek Parkway. That's right on the east side of 441 State Road 7. His website, friendlytire.net. And if you missed his address or phone number, just go to stevekaneshow.com and make sure you tell him you heard about him on the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back.
Does your life insurance policy only pay someone if you die? The new life insurance policies allow you to access your benefits even while you were still alive. Due to changes in the insurance industry, all life insurance carriers in 2020 have adjusted their premiums to your advantage. Life insurance rates have been lowered due to the updated mortality tables. People are living longer in America.
Barry, we're going to be off on Thursday, but back live on Friday. So just to give you a heads up, we won't be here. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll be off Thursday and back Friday. All right, hold on.
Insurance policy 954-753.
I'm off Thursday because I'm going to Disney World. It's opening day.
8080. Listen to.
All right, 22 minutes after the hour of 8. I'm Brian. It's time to check in with our estate planning attorney, Attorney Barry Siegel. Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you and the estate planning practice going?
Everything's going well, and a lot of people are making sure that they're getting their planning done. It's become even more of a priority, and people have stopped procrastinating as much as they had. And anyway, today I was going to talk to you about the fact that there's really just 3 key ways to pay for the cost of long-term care. Which is super important. I mean, if you end up spending down all your assets on the cost of long-term care, you have nothing left to worry about as far as the estate plan. So we really want to make sure people don't spend down their assets. So there's 3 ways. One is what I just said, spending down your assets until you're potentially broke or near broke. That's the one we really want to avoid. The second way is one of the best ways to have long-term care insurance. So if you have it, great, keep it. You don't have it and you can get it, you can afford it, then get it. Otherwise, if it's too late, then there's one option left, and that's government benefits. There are 2 key government benefits that can help pay for the cost of long-term care. One is Medicaid and one is veteran benefits. So really the key for those of you who either don't have long-term care or don't have enough long-term care is to make sure you plan ahead, make sure you get the facts. The problem is, Brian, that too many people think that they can't qualify. They think they have too much money, too much income. Someone's told them they can't do it. Please don't listen to that. Come in for a free consult. We'll be able to go over it with you and let you know if there's an opportunity for you to qualify and protect your assets.
Absolutely. Listen, give Attorney Barry Siegel a call. His number is toll-free, 855-FLA-3782. That's 855-FLA-3782. And online, SiegelLawGroup.com. SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Barry Siegel, we will talk later in the week. Okay, take care, take care. You know, I think I should mention the passing of Charlie Daniels. I am not a fan of country music at all. And, you know, I'll tell you, Charlie Daniels, I know everybody on Fox pretends to be a fan of country music. I don't listen to country music. I mean, that's not to say there's not an isolated song or two. But other than Devil Went Down to Georgia, I cannot name off the top of my head another Charlie Daniels song. Now, I'm sure that if I heard some, I would remember them. But, you know, Charlie Daniels is a crossover artist. Because I remember, what year was Devil Went Down to Georgia? Does anyone know? Let me look it up real. I love the internet. You can look things. I can look things up and pretend to know, but if I don't know, I don't know. Let's see here. The Devil Went Down to Georgia song. Let me see if I can find out when it. Because I remember the first time I heard that song. Let me see here. Okay, let me look at the Wikipedia. It'll give me the year. Oh my gosh, I was 8, 1979. I remember the first time I heard Devil Went Down to Georgia. And you know what? And and I'm not a country music fan. I'm a big fan of music. All right? I love music. I listen to music a lot. Mainly I listen to one band all the time, and my wife and daughter get really tired of it. But The Devil Went Down to Georgia is the only song that I can remember where I was when I first heard it. And I remember I was with my mother, and I get 1979, so I was 8, and she was visiting someone she went to high school with, and they had a son who was about my age, and we were just playing around the house. He's like, "You got to hear this song." And he put it on, and it was Devil Went Down to Georgia. And we probably listened to it that day in 1979 probably 10 or 15 times in a row. Devil Went Down to Georgia, looking for some souls to steal, you know, and all of that. And that is probably the one of the best songs ever written in the history of American music. And it was not, I know he was a country artist, and it's a country song, but he was a crossover, and that was a song that made its way, I bet you Devil Went Down to Georgia made it on the pop charts. You know, and again, I'm sure he has a whole catalog of great music, some of which I'm probably familiar with, but Devil Went Down to Georgia, everyone loves Charlie Daniels because that is probably one of the 2, 3 greatest songs. Devil Went Down to Georgia may be the greatest American song ever written. I mean, that song, it never gets old. I love it. And I don't listen to country. I don't really enjoy country music. You know, there's every once in a while I hear a country song and I'm like, oh, that's a good song, you know, and I like it. But I don't have any. You know, I use Apple Music and things like that. There's no country music on it, you know. Mostly, I listen to 80s pop and mostly 10,000 Maniacs is what I listen to all day. Anytime I'm listening to music, it's usually 10,000 Maniacs, you know. My daughter says, why do you even have Apple Music? You just listen to 10,000 Maniacs. Just listen to the same band every day. But it's true, you know. But Devil Went Down to Georgia, I think, come to think of it, I think Devil Went Down to Georgia is probably the greatest American song ever written, that everyone knows. It's in everyone's head. Everybody loves that song. And that's why everyone loves Charlie Daniels, is because of that. I know people say, oh, he was so good on Twitter. He was a great Republican, a great conservative. I saw him. It's all because of that one song. It's really amazing. And I saw him on Fox a few times. He seemed like a good guy. I'm a big fan of Charlie Daniels. But, oh man, you know how many downloads that song must have gotten yesterday? Oh, Devil Went Down to Georgia. Good morning. You're on the radio.
Calling to find out, to ask a question, and that is, why do you think, and you might have already addressed it, but why do you think that corporate America is just like taking the wrong sides on each and every one of those issues that are really?
Well, pick an issue and pick a company.
For NASCAR, for example, you know,
yeah,
took his side, and the NFL with this, the NFL now with 2 national anthems. I mean.
Well, okay, I'll tell you. I'll tell you why I think. I don't know. You're talking about not corporate as a whole. Let's talk about NASCAR. This is what I think happened with NASCAR. Okay, and this is just a theory that I have very little evidence to support. That's why I haven't shared it yet. But since you asked, I'll throw this out. Okay. In the late 90s or early 2000s, I can't remember when exactly, Terry McAuliffe was the head of the Democrat National Committee, and the Democrats went to some NASCAR races to register people to vote. I want to say it was before the 2000 election. Might have been between the 2004, before the 2000. It was either right before the 2000 or the 2004 election. Terry McAuliffe and the DNC get to NASCAR, and the fans ran them off. Say, get the hell out of here. We're Republicans, okay? And the Democrats, this was a big thing at the time. You guys can look it up. Some of you may remember. The Democrats couldn't understand this because they figured that NASCAR were a bunch of hicks, bunch of rednecks married to their cousins, and, you know, and or their high school girlfriends and never went to college, were uneducated and poor, so they must be Democrat. They couldn't understand this. And I believe that, you know, this is I know this is going to sound crazy to you, okay? I believe Bubba Wallace was placed in NASCAR by activists to transform NASCAR like they transformed the NFL with Kaepernick. That's what I think. And right before this incident happened, he had gotten them to get rid of the Confederate flag because it made him uncomfortable. That's part of it. Another reason is I don't watch NASCAR, okay? I don't watch it. I watched a race when Trump was doing the pace car thing a few months back. And I was watching the interviews with the drivers beforehand. I had it on all day. I have not seen a NASCAR race, and I've not seen the driver interviews since I was a kid. And when I was a kid, they were a bunch of overweight, good old boys. And then when I saw the new drivers, they were a bunch of skinny metrosexuals. You know what I mean? And the type of guys that are drivers today, as opposed to in the past at NASCAR, are these metrosexual snowflake millennial types that wear skinny suits and high water slacks with their suits. You know what I mean? They're not men like back in the days when I was growing up in NASCAR. So they've metrosexualized the driver class, and Bubba Wallace is an activist who was put there to stir things up like they've done with great success the NFL. That's my unsupported opinion.
What you're saying is that you're seeing a progression towards, you know, moving away from the traditions of NASCAR, but it's also occurring in the NFL with this, you know, and
they've changed. What they've done is they've changed the culture of NASCAR, like they've changed the culture of football. They've changed. They're in the middle of it right now. They're changing the culture of NASCAR. They've already changed the culture of football. Okay, like the commissioner of the NFL, he's married to Jane Skinner, who used to be on Fox. I think he got her to quit Fox because he's a lib, and he didn't want his wife on the Fox network. She used to be on there with Shepard Smith years ago in the afternoons. Jane Skinner, you know, and they're changing the culture of NASCAR, just like they did with football. Yeah, baseball will be next. They won't bother with soccer or hockey because Americans aren't really huge fans of that. But yeah, that's you know, I mean, Bubba Wallace hasn't won a race. He's been there for a while now. He hasn't won a race. He seems to be mediocre. Why is someone that's mediocre getting so much? You know, when let me give you an example. Tiger Woods was #1, right? And remember when he won the Masters? That's how you do it. He didn't come in 5th place. He won. And there was a racist incident that happened to Tiger Woods the day he won the Masters. You remember it? Well, I'll say what it was. When Tiger Woods won the Masters, one of the golfers, whose name I can't remember, Fuzzy something, somebody I remember, he came out and he made some fried chicken reference to the clubhouse, right? Very racist thing he said on live television. That wasn't something that had to be investigated or nuanced, or, well, what does it mean in the context? Tiger Woods was #1, Fuzzy Zeller, that's right. Tiger Woods was #1, he kicked everyone's butt, he was the best in the history of the game, and then some jerk came out and made a fried chicken reference. Oh, we're going to be serving fried chicken in the clubhouse, he said, on live TV during this historic event of Tiger Woods winning. It wasn't something in the dark that no one saw, that had to be investigated and had to be discussed endlessly, like with Bubba Wallace. if you win some races, be the best like Tiger Woods, Bubba Wallace, and then because you know what I mean. Lead by example. I got to run for the. We're already late. We'll be right back. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Don't go anywhere.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. Veterans and spouses of veterans, you may be entitled to benefits that you are not aware of, including long-term care benefits. Call attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group and find out what benefits are available to you. With offices in Boca Raton and Fort Lauderdale, call toll-free 1-855-FLA-3782. 1-855-FLA-3782.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio.
All right, welcome back. It's time to check in with Richard Pearl over at Simply Natural. Don't forget, tomorrow, Wednesday at noon, at 11 o'clock on noon on Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, catch Richard Pearl's show on our radio stations. Richard Pearl, good morning.
First of all, I wanted to say that this is one of the few shows, if not the only one in South Florida, other than mine, that really get into the information that needs to be heard.
That's right.
On radio, television, whatever media is nonsensical. And I want to share something that is really...
Wow.
believe 60-some-odd thousand people have died in nursing homes. And in at least 24 of the states in this country, the majority of deaths were nursing home related. New Hampshire recorded the largest percentage at 80%, and that's just insane. It was followed by Rhode Island and Minnesota with 77%. This is crazy. Honestly, I sit back every day, and I deal with a lot of people who are sick. I send them out packages.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Again, another Democratic mayor making sure that the city is destroyed. It's just done.
Or are they conning people so they can have power over them, Richard? That's the question. I want to give your information out for your store, but then I have an unrelated question when we after I do this. Now, listen, I'm taking, I don't know, 8 or 9 different supplements from Simply Natural, and I got to tell you, they're great supplements. And I want to tell you, Richard Pearl, I have been taking supplements for 20 years now. Your supplements, they are the best. I'm not, and what I mean by that is they work. They work. I'm feeling better. I'm doing better, and they're wonderful. Listen, Simply Natural is located in the city of Sunrise, just north of Sunset Strip on the east side of University. You can, and they're open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. You can call the store at 11 and on when they're open, 954-741-4045, 954-741-4045. And of course, Richard Pearl's radio show, Wednesdays on our radio stations at 11, that's new, and Saturday and Sundays at noon. Now, on an unrelated thing, Steve's not here today. I was saving this for Steve to be here, but since he's not here, I want to bring this up. Steve is in a panic and very upset at me because I am going with my daughter to Walt Disney World this week, Richard Pearl. Should anyone be concerned that I am going to Walt Disney World this week? I like that. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
To pass it on to anyone. She's not going to get it. You're not going to get it if you're healthy. If you want, you can stop by.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Yeah. That, yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Well, I'll tell you, Richard Pearl's health show was unlike any health show you've ever heard on the radio, as you can tell by his call-ins. All right, Richard Pearl, we'll talk tomorrow. I will, absolutely. And, you know, I know. So there's nothing to worry about. I'll be at Walt Disney World this week with my daughter. I'm very excited about it. And it's a special event that we're going. It's a special event with a very, very limited number of people invited to the special event that I'm going at Walt Disney World. This is not something that's just open to everybody in the general public. I'm going to a special event with my daughter to Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom, and I'm very excited. I've not been to Disney World. I don't know when I was. It February or March when I last went? I don't know. But I'm glad Richard Pearl agrees with me that there's nothing to worry about. I know Steve was a little concerned about all of that stuff yesterday. Okay, now there's a lot of talk about this photograph that Fox News cropped. It was of Jeffrey Epstein and the Maxwell lady with the president and the first lady quite some time ago at Mar-a-Lago, and they cropped the president and first lady out and put this photograph on Fox News. And there's a big controversy as to why they cropped out the president and first lady. I'm going to tell you why in a moment. But you know, being in photographs with people has all of a sudden, since Trump became president, or actually before, since Trump came down the escalator, if you were in a photograph with someone, it is as if you were taking part in everything they've ever done in their life, and you are accountable for everything they've done in their life. That's bad. The president has been a celebrity his entire life, and he's in pictures with thousands, if not millions of people over the years since the 70s. And, I've taken pictures, I can't tell you with how many listeners over the years. If I take a picture with someone, and sometimes I'll run into a listener somewhere, Steve will, that want to take a picture. We take pictures. I don't do a background check. I just take a picture. No, excuse me, we cannot take a photograph. I must do a background check to make sure that you don't have a checkered history, and I must look at your Twitter feed and your criminal record before we can take this selfie together. Now, this photograph where they cropped out the president and first lady with Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, why did they do that? Now, of course, the general thinking is they did this to not damage the president and first lady by having them in a picture with Maxwell and Epstein. That's not why. How many, there are more pictures of Jeffrey Epstein and his madam, okay, probably than almost any other people in our society. Why did they take the one picture of him with the Trumps and crop him out? Why didn't they use a picture of them just alone or with another celebrity and crop them out? I'll tell you why. Fox News has a bunch of liberals over there that hate Trump. And this was done by someone at a very low level. This is not some huge conspiracy that was done at Fox News. This was done by some lower level person just to stick it to the president, stick it to the first lady, and also stick it to Fox News Channel. Okay? You got some liberal person that was working in the photo whatever graphics area, and they crop them out to create an issue where there is none. I don't care if there's a bunch. Listen, Epstein was a big fixture around Palm Beach. So what? I was up in Palm Beach on Saturday, and I wanted to drive by Mar-a-Lago, and I put in IMAPs, the directions to Mar-a-Lago from where I was. And this was an unbelievable thing. This was very funny. When you use IMAPs, it also brings up Yelp for the place you're looking for. And the Yelp reviews for Mar-a-Lago popped up on my IMAPs, and it had some photographs of people enjoying themselves at Mar-a-Lago. Who was in the first photo? In fact, they were in more than one, but I couldn't believe who was in the first photograph on the Yelp reviews of Mar-a-Lago on my IMAPs. It came up on my phone. I couldn't believe it. And it wasn't because it was my phone. This was on Yelp. My friend, Bill Lewis. You guys know, a lot of you remember Bill Lewis. A lot of you know Bill Lewis. And I couldn't believe Bill Lewis, first photograph at Mar-a-Lago, you know? And he's there at Mar-a-Lago, you know, and he was in 2 of the top 3 Yelp photographs at Mar-a-Lago, and everyone's got their arms around everyone, you know? Does that mean that, and I've got pictures with Bill, I've taken pictures with Bill, he went with us on our first cruise. Is President Trump responsible for him and me because we've all taken photos and he's on his Yelp reviews? This whole thing that they're doing, that you are responsible for everything in someone's life because you're in a photograph with them, especially when you're a celebrity like this, is one of the most absurd things I have ever heard in my life. But it's part of the you know, the cancel culture, right? If you retweet or like a tweet, you're responsible for that entire person's life. You know, they do that a lot. You're endorsing everything about their life. If you're a celebrity and someone says, "Can I take a picture with you?" You're responsible for everybody, that whole life of that person in that photograph. You know, listen, there's a lot. This thing with Trump. The reason they used this photograph wasn't just to stick it to Fox and to Trump. It was to distract, because Maxwell is rumored to have been Bill Clinton's mistress, and she was at Chelsea's wedding, and she had a good spot right on the aisle at Chelsea's wedding, okay? So the reason that this Trump-Melania photograph with Epstein and Maxwell was cropped out by Fox News was to try to highlight a connection between the two of them, when the real connection is Bill Clinton to them, especially to her. All right, let's take our last break of the day. We'll come back with the Gold Report. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Show. Don't go anywhere.
We are chatting today with Frank, the owner of 2 magnificent Ace Hardware stores. One, Deerfield Beach, 365 South Federal Highway, about a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough on the west side of Federal Highway. And the other, Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, half a block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the Sea. Well, one of the things I noticed when I first walked into Ace Hardware is that you carry such a wide variety of the big brands all under one roof. It's astounding.
That's Ace's new practice. It's called Best Brands. And under one roof, we have major categories. Let me give you an example of 2. Yeti coolers, Craftsman hand tools, Milwaukee hand tools, Steel power equipment, Benmore paint, Weber grills, Napoleon grills, Traeger grills, Big Green Egg. We are a platinum dealer. We have the largest selection of Green Egg products, all under one roof. All with people that are experienced and how to use these products.
There are lots of Ace Hardware stores, but there are only 2 that are advertising with the Steve Kane Show. We're talking about the Deerfield location, a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough Boulevard on the west side of Federal, and of course the Beach Ace Hardware located
That's the Trump train.
232 Commercial Boulevard, a half block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the Sea. Very, very special locations. Be sure to mention Steve Kane sent you.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. It's time for the Gold Report. William Youngerman on the line. You know, William Youngerman, I saw this guy online yesterday morning that made a mask, you know, for the social distancing for COVID out of gold. I don't know if you saw this guy in the news yesterday. A solid gold mask that he's wearing around town.
That would be interesting.
But and heavy.
Oh, God.
I know. I never. You look it up online. It's a very good mask. I don't. Do you have any masks over there, William Youngerman Incorporated? No. How are the markets looking today?
Market's looking pretty good, actually. Yesterday we had a good rally. Today we got a little bit of a profit taking, but we're locked in a trading range right now.
for gold at least at 1775 to about $18 resistance area. And that's where we've been trading for the last couple of days. Yesterday we saw gold get up to that 1785.10 range and close at $10.70. Silver got up to 1826, closing at about 24 cents. Platinum closed up $19 at $819. And palladium closed up $12 at $1,864. As I said, we had a little bit of profit taking this morning with a little bit of a stronger dollar and stock market selling off a little bit. That's giving gold a little bit pushed down, down $9.10 right now at 1776. Interesting number. Silver 21 cents at 1805. Platinum the only one up this morning, up $4 at $823, and palladium down $15 at $1849. So again, the lower end of our trading range, and still a great buying opportunity.
Absolutely. And listen, give William Youngerman a call. His number, toll free from anywhere, 1-800-327-5010, 1-800-327-5010, and online, williamyoungerman.com. You can stop right in. They're located right here in Boca Raton, immediately east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road on the first floor of the Bank of America building. All right, William Youngerman, we will talk tomorrow. All right, take care. Okay, now this woman from New York that was in the park, this was weeks and weeks ago. I'm going to play the audio here. The woman that was in the park with her dog off the leash, and then she was a white woman, and she was approached by an African-American man who was recording her. She called the police. She's being charged with crimes now. Now, keep in mind, she's lost her job. They took her dog away from her. I think she got the dog back, but she lost her job, and now she's facing criminal charges for false police report. And let me play the audio. I didn't cue it up, so I'm just going to play this over my iPad up to my mic.
Asking you to stop. Please don't come close to me. Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me. Please don't come close to me. Please take your phone off. Please don't come close to me. I'm taking pictures of the cops. Please call the cops. Please call the cops. I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. Please tell them whatever you like. Excuse me?
You guys remember this?
I'm sorry, I'm in a ramble, and there is a man, African-American, who has a bicycle helmet. He's recording me and threatening me and my dog. There is an African-American man, I'm in Central Park. He's recording me and threatening myself and my dog. And my... I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately. I'm in Central Park in the ramble. I don't know. Thank you.
Okay. Now, that's the original audio. Her name is Amy Cooper. She's now facing charges after calling police on a black bird watcher. And I don't think it's a watcher of black birds. I think they mean a black person who was bird watching. And this is the New York Times. Let me read the story. It says here, Ms. Cooper was captured on video calling the police after Christian Cooper asked her to keep her dog on a leash in Central Park. When Amy Cooper, and again, I'm reading from the New York Times, so you get lip speak here. When Amy Cooper, a white woman, called 911 from an isolated patch in Central Park where she was standing with her unleashed dog on Memorial Day, she said an African-American man was threatening her life, emphasizing his race to the operator. Moments before Ms. Cooper made the call, the man, an avid bird watcher, had asked her to leash her dog, and she had refused. On Monday, she was charged with filing a false report, a misdemeanor punishable by up to a year in jail. And it goes on. Okay. Put me on her jury, not guilty. And I want to tell you why. I talked about this at the time, and this is a very, very important thing. Liberals, and by the way, this guy is an activist. He is a cartoon artist who's in the comic book industry, and he had actually took part in a Star Trek comic book with a gay character in it, which I did not know until I read an article that mentioned this at the time. this guy was so out of line with this woman. I do believe that she was legitimately frightened. Here she is in a park, alone. A strange man comes up to her and starts giving her orders, and then he's filming her on the phone. And this is a thing that unless you've experienced it, I don't think a lot of people understand this. I've had this happen to me a couple of times with leftists. What they do is they use the recording of the phone to intimidate you. And when someone is recording you in a confrontation like this, from my own experience, it feels like you're being violated because they're pushing your buttons. They don't start recording until after things get heated. They remain calm because they know what they're doing. They're setting you up. They're trying to get a piece of video to make you look bad, to make you look wrong, to put it on social media. And using these phones to intimidate people, they've weaponized the phone recordings. And it's not pleasant. It is a very uncomfortable thing to experience. If you've been through this, you know. Second, this. If he was talking to another man, the same thing would not have happened. If he was a woman talking to a woman, the same thing would not have happened. A man approaching a straight woman, giving them orders in public in the park alone, is scary to women. And it's not because he's African American, okay? It's not that. It's because he's a man and she's a woman. I would not have an interaction like that with a woman. I might lose my cool with a man, but I would be in control enough not to do it with. I think she was legitimately scared. The phone is a threatening man. And look at what happened to her. She lost her job. She lost her dog. They gave her the dog back, but they took her dog away. They took her job away, and now she's facing a year in jail. He got exactly what he wanted, and I hope she fights it, and I hope she gets a very good New York lawyer who will argue against this threatening nature that a phone recording brings upon it. If you've had this happen to you, we're out of time. I can't take any calls on it now. But if you've ever had this happen to you, you know exactly what I mean. And, you know, there's a lot of people going around trying to trigger people and use the cell phone camera to get a result to go viral on the internet, and then they weaponize it because they upload it online. They upload it online, they do the right tags, hashtag this, hashtag that, and if it's the right groups and the right people and the right time, boom, it's on the national news, and then someone's facing trouble like this lady. So, you know, you always have to assume that you're being recorded in any interaction, anywhere you have today, especially with strangers out in public. Watch yourself, keep your cool, because you could be the next victim like this woman is. Not saying she was 100% right, but I do believe she truly felt threatened. I think a woman being approached in a park by a strange man would be scary for a woman. Would you not agree, ladies? I think so. All right, listen, we are all out of time, but we'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget, any lab test now of Boca, any lab test now of Coral Springs, on the spot, coronavirus COVID-19 testing available. It's just $69. You walk in, 15 minutes later, you walk out with your results. You get the results in 15 minutes right there on the spot. All right, at any lab test now of Boca and any lab test now of Coral Springs. Any lab test now of Boca in the Sandalfoot Plaza, where the Western Beef is, south of Palmetto, north of Hillsborough, on the east side of 441. Their number 561-237-5009. Any lab test now of Coral Springs on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood near the Coral Square Mall. Their number 954-906-5983. My name's Brian. This is the Steve Kane Show. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. If you missed those numbers for any lab test now of Boca or Coral Springs, they're all at stevekaneshow.com. All right, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.
5.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
All right. And that's it. Show's over. Just got to do a couple things. Well, everyone, if you're not subscribed, subscribed. Do you want to walk down with me in the elevator? It just take me a minute to get all done here. I don't know who Vinman is, but I'll take a look. I have no idea who that is. But I will take a look. And of course, masks are the law here. You've got to wear masks everywhere. So I have to put my mask on. I know. It's the law. You wear gloves. No gloves for me. What is this shirt from? Does anyone know? Anyone have an idea? Any ideas? There's Bueller's Day Off. That's correct. All right, guys. I'll see you all. I'm wearing the mask because it's the law. I can't leave without it. It's the law. In the building. You got to wear it in the office building. I know. It's crazy, isn't it? I know. I know. All right, guys. I'll see you later. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. I uploaded a new podcast last night. It's on my YouTube channel. Check that out, and I'll see you guys later. All right, take care. Thanks for watching, everyone.